Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Hello and welcome to the Thursday night edition of Spaced Out Radio Tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and thank you very much for tuning us on in as we're going to find our higher ascension tonight. We are going to find our Zen, our Chi, and take our consciousness to a whole new level. Amanda DeMarco is here tonight to break it all down for us. And the best part about tonight, we have all of you. Yes, we do, including, let's see here. Well, scrolling on down, we got Race Fan in the gold medal position, SJ, Michael Fontaine filling up the silver and bronze. Yes, we do. How cool is that? The medalists are set. Hi, Robert Lamoth, Michael Morris, Dogface Simon, good to see you all. Kitty Catty Whack, thank you for coming on in. Hi, Brown Dwarf. Cosmic Joe, how you doing? And Joe, thank you for kicking off the super chat tonight. We very much appreciate your love and support of SOR. Rugged Source, good to see you. Rugged Source will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Moving on down, Raymond L., good to see you back. Eternity Eternal, John Lamb, Science Melinda, good to have you all here. Tim Mothman and his goatee, thank you for joining us. Two separate entities. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship. T-Bone, my man, how are you? Good to see you, my friend. Number 24 in your program, starting at center ice tonight from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Janssen. Operation Shutdown, how are you? Good to see you. Richard Steele, thanks for coming on in. Phyllis Mouche Perry, thank you for joining us as we continue on with our roll call in the audience tonight. Thomas Rock and Corey, nice to see you both. Human Carl is here, not to be misconstrued with Alien Carl. Human Carl's a great veteran of the United States Air Force. Thank you for your service, Human Carl. We love you. Ozzy, W. Decker, the lovely and talented Kira, how are you all? Rain, nice to see you. Hi, W. David Page and Skip to Malou. Good morning to you. Candy Wolf, nice to see you. Al Garay over on Twitch. Yeah, he bench pressed 585 pounds 26 times tonight. He's working out, building them pecs. River Morris, good to see you. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start the show. And the Doug Shelby will be signing autographs after the show as well. Light up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Scrolling on down, Alex Sanchez, Lee the Bee, and Lightwalkers. Nice to see you all as we continue on with our roll call here. Karen in the Woo Train. Nice to see you. Hi, Susan Alloway. Xochitl Paez Richards. Nice to see you all the way down in Texas as we are roll calling our way through the lineup as we speak. Digger Dog, nice to have you here. And who else is with us here tonight? Well, let's take a look. Scrolling on down, there's Matthew Gutka. If you wave to him, he always waves back. It's unbelievable. Okay, here we go. M. Just M. Right there. Welcome to the chat room. And TNR DG Runner, welcome to SOR chat again. I didn't get to say that to you last night, but thank you for coming on in. And who's next here? Well, we have Killing Reality. Good to see you. W. Decker, thank you for the lovely super chat. Really appreciate that. Calling me Dave Area 51. I like that. Oh, my cousin Ray Patterson. Oh, you're awesome, buddy. You are awesome. Thank you for the laugh. All right, who's next? Purple-haired Pixie Lara. FU Zaddy, how are you? And Thunderbird, nice to see you all. Scrolling on down, Richard Elmore, again, good to see you. And Noble Patrick, thank you for coming on in. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and tonight we have Amanda DeMarco, the IndigoAngel herself, flat-ironed her hair for this one, as we are going to get right into what it's like to ascend in consciousness and so much more. Bill WD-40 has shown up, which means he is officially lubing us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth, people. You never want that rigidness. It's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good. Bill lubes us up just perfectly each and every show. Remember, the super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You can wear our stuff out in public and be proud of it. Do me a favor. It's that time of the night where I say, throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. You'll maybe the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We're going to have a great show for you tonight. We're going to expand our consciousness, check out our Zen and Chi, power up our chakras, as the IndigoAngel and Amanda DeMarco will join us here momentarily. Then in hour number 3, it's a busy one. Robin Haynes is here with the Crypted Report. Steve Stockton with another spooky story. It's Dave 101 night, and we have the weird news of the week. Her human name is Amanda Jane DeMarco, but her ascended identity is IndigoAngel. This would be the higher aspect of Amanda's soul that has transcended her humanism within and has become an angel incarnate here on Earth. She is a midway portal receiver and transmitter to the galactic code of quantum mathematical, geometric, electromagnetic, tonal, radial, photonic, elemental, spectrum, light, and sound frequencies of the origin Krystallah orders. Say that fast 3 times. I'm not doing it again because I got through that clean. And in radio, when you get through something clean, you don't do it again. That absorb, transmit, and reflect through all 12 dimensions of consciousness within physical matter and the human body. Her website, if you want to go to it, IndigoAngel222.com, and her YouTube channel is IndigoAngel as well. Let's bring her in. The IndigoAngel herself, Amanda DeMarco. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. How are you, my friend?
Hey, I am doing well. Thank you so much for having me on the station. And I'm excited to be here and dive into all of the topics we're going to get into tonight.
Oh, you're going to make us ascend tonight. Guaranteed. We're going to have some ascension tonight. You know, you're somebody who really likes helping people. You know, and most spiritual people, such as yourself, they have this gift and this knack of being able to really help heighten someone's awareness, clear their chakras, bring their level of consciousness up. How did you get started in all of this?
Yeah, well, you know that for a lot of us, I think, who've taken this path it's really come for a need for it for ourselves, right? So I got started with my awakening and also the need for deeper levels of healing and searching for truth within myself. And this kind of began, let's say, at least 10, it's been about 10 years. I would say 10 years. 2013 was my awakening point when I really recognized what was beginning to shift and change in my body. Because for me personally, my ascension and my awakening was a very rigorous ascension process. It was a very physical process. For me, everything was felt very quantified within my subtlety body, almost to the point that I felt that I was transcendent, like my body had become holographic. So what would happen, this is like my awakening remembrance, as I remember, I was so sensitive to energy that I would match with somebody's field that might have a little bit of anger, like energetic dysfunction or chaos or negativity or whatever it was. And so they would like project that in and through me, and I would feel it literally go through my bone density fields. And I would feel like I just got radiated, and I would have to go to sleep for about 3 hours. And it would almost be like my blood was glowing, and I was going through extreme levels of what felt like detoxification of just impurities in me all the time. I remember I felt sick all the time, and had ascension flu. I had just a lot of having to repair my physical body. So my awakening also did come through a near-death experience as well. And that also came through breaking down my body, right? Like my physical anatomy and like my health, my spiritual immunity, basically my light body. So I honestly think that the process of ascension honestly comes online for a lot of people is because it's a great rehabilitation that begins through the awakening of the higher strands of the DNA. And for a lot of us, depending on, you know, what our mission here is on this earth and kind of where we sit within our biological ascension markers and timeline, you know, we awaken up with different gifts, and we awaken at different times, and we awaken with different missions. And all of this is relative to us getting to even higher levels of attainment within ascension. Because for some of us, it's about the ascension process, but for others, it's about getting into higher missions for the planet and for humanity. And so you're kind of combining many, many different facets of what this looks like. You're kind of living through all of your timelines simultaneously. But, you know, for me, I think I woke up to becoming a planetary guardian. And that kind of came in when I started to get the downloads of my angelic identity, which was IndigoAngel, right? So that kind of came through the Seraphim progenitor serpent soul lines. And I recognized that I was a Hydra starseed. So I was really connected to the serpent cosmology. And I recognized that I had some starseed origins that were in the Guardian Nations, but some that sat outside of it as well, that weren't of intruder race lines or negative ET facets, okay? But there's a whole story that goes behind all that as well. But this kind of pulled me into my indigo type templating, okay? And that also defined aspects of my cosmic identity. And then I moved into being a planetary grid reader and seer and psychic. So the ascension process has started from an awakening all the way to now I read the divine blueprint of humanity within the holographic architecture of the planet. And I bring forth messages according to locations all over the world and to basically what's being held within the holographic structures of the geometry fields and the geography as well. So Ascension, yeah, Ascension can wrap you through a lot of loops. You can go 12D spectrum within yourself and then go completely into the planetary body consciousness spectrum and become like a planetary avatar. It's just how far do you want to take it? How far do you want to expand your consciousness? Yeah.
How did you learn all of this? How did you take the deep dive into trying to figure out what was happening to you? Because for most people, and I don't say this to be insultive, but most people who will hear that for the first time will say, what the hell is she talking about? You know, I understand it because I've got many a friend in this community who've said pretty much the same thing. But for those who may not understand, how did this happen? How did you figure all of this out?
Well, there's a need for it. The beginning of my ascension was through, my ascension process became my way of life because it was like survival, like energetic survival, like the sensitivities were that extreme. So it quantified my consciousness. It took me into finding teachers and way showers also aligned to the information that I was getting, psychically. And I feel like it's come through a long journey of also acknowledging psychically with who and what I'm even connecting or communicating with, right? Like there's a whole process that unfolds within that awakening of like your ability to open up psychically and channel information. But I think kind of going back to it all, like I had to study ascension mechanics because of what I was reading within myself. Holographic structures within my body were activating and lighting up, right? I became aware of my Merkaba before I was aware of my Merkaba. Before you learn about these things, like you become interpreting your own energy field, because really ascension, as you get to these much higher levels, it's about acknowledging the different variations in geometries and mechanics that are running in your own biomechanics, in your own light body field. The need for the study becomes necessary because you have to learn how to release energy. You have to learn how to turn these technologies on that your DNA is directing you to do as you're communicating with it. As you're communicating with radial sources of intelligence and light and photonic light, right? Celestial radial sources that come in to basically guide humanity in terms of our evolution and where we're going and growing in terms of ascension, because there's a planetary ascension process that's happening and evolving. This isn't like I'm one story and so is everybody else, but the story is actually the planetary ascension, and where we're kind of going into the future. Many of us that are kind of more on the evolved path, we're holding the templating for the new Earth to come in. So many of us are in different like phases of mission, 144,000 missions. Some are graduates of these things. Some are holding literally the templating of the diamond architecture in the planet to basically usher in the planetary ascension cycle. It's a lot. It's so much.
No,
It
I think the beautiful part
How do
about
I
it is
wrap it up?
the beautiful part about it is we have time to get into all of this tonight. But
Okay.
for you, as you developed your sense of awareness that this was a path that you needed to go on, was there ever a time where you looked at this and said to yourself, what does this all mean? Why am I doing this? Am I wasting my time? Is this something I'm going on down a rabbit hole that I don't fully comprehend or understand? Or did it come to you very naturally?
Well, it definitely came naturally. This is definitely a natural process. It's an organic process that happens, awakening and ascension for those that are meant to activate in this lifetime. It's a natural organic process. Um, so that really came for me with breaking down my carbon, because my carbon structures broke down. So again, making my body more translucent, more holographic, more able to see psychically and interpret psychically. It just became a need to kind of go into these studies, really. And I studied a lot of originally for ascension mechanics. I did study a lot of the Kalantic sciences. And that really helped me to understand the way the biomechanics works within one's field, and accessing different levels and layers of consciousness within each of these templates that we hold basically unlocks more of, your Christos DNA, your Krystallah DNA. You go much more farther into that within, and it becomes a quantified journey for sure of kind of decoding yourself and decoding your consciousness. I mean, really, ultimately, when you wake up to ascension, you have It depends. Like, it depends where one is, because if someone comes in with their fourth to sixth strand DNA activated already, most likely they're going to activate all 12 dimensional strands and become like full avatar consciousness and go even beyond that. It's really your choice. You kind of dictate your choice and how far you want to take your ascension. Some people are trying to ascend to literally get out of the reincarnation matrix and trap and go to another system or go to another future timeline, or, you know, even transcend like this type of consciousness. So for many of us, it's a remembering from ancient practices and knowledges we once had, and we get the reattainment of that, and we utilize it to reorganize our fields, and that way we can release like the karmic loop cycles, and also, you know, all the things that kind of tie the heart down into the choice of reincarnating again. So like for some, the ascension process is like entirely to transcend like this existence. For others, it's to attain more knowledge and more memories and more sciences and more information, and they actually pick up again in the next life because they're still anchoring things. Some people have like 500,000 year missions here, you know, and so it takes all these incarnations to anchor that in to the earth, because they're coming from like the future, or they're coming from they're just meant to hold a staple or a fabric that's going to thread or ignite a consciousness, because we're all kind of serving the law of one. Yeah. And I heard a little echo on my voice there.
Oh, you're doing great. You're sounding great.
Okay. But yeah, so that.
Well, let me ask you this. What incarnation are you in right now? How many times have you done this? And what is your mission to try and improve on this time?
Well, I feel that I was here before the earth was here. I was kind of in angelic form before I descended into this planet. And some of my first incarnations were in the motherlands of Mu. So I'm definitely a Mu template key holder through the progenitor race of Hydra. A lot of my race lines at that time, you know, had vanished off the planet, but a lot of them were like raped and pillaged. I've been ran through force breeder programs and hybridization programs and abduction. I basically have had all of this happen to me as my memory's been released back to me. The abduction part, I'm still trying to figure out like more details of it, but I've had a lot of it recently come back to me. But basically I've been my race line was hybridized into by some of the intruder races as well that had kind of invaded the race lines in the motherlands of Mu, and then it continued to repeat itself in Lemuria and also Atlantis, so I've been incarnating here all of this time. So I hold a lot of memory and records through all of these timelines. I don't hold all of the memory and records, but I hold what, you know, the parts that I know to be true, which is through my perspective and my cosmic history.
Do they give you clairvoyance on what you remember?
Yeah, I do have, you know, clairvoyance around the things I remember. If it's relative or necessary for me to know it. A lot of the messages I've been getting more recently is to release a lot of my ancient records and identity, because I've been getting so much future downloads. But because of the technology and the way that they want you to kind of work things, you have to release density in your field to attain more things like that are beyond this realm, because everything holds weight in your field, and it's all about gravity on this planet. So you have to learn how to balance and work with gravity to expand your consciousness. So getting as much density out of your field is imperative for expansion. But I would say the things that I know the most was there were many wars. Okay, there was a lot of galactic wars. Draco wars, reptilian wars, Anunnaki wars. There's planetary wars before that even happened. There was Marduk and Maldek that impacted the planet. There's actually been a couple impacts that other people may not know about, but there was a couple other planets that also smashed into the Earth as well. But with these planets coming in, they brought consciousness and genetic seeds from some of these particular reptilian race lines, basically. A lot of my progenitor cosmology was here prior to like impact. So I was here, some of the original soul lines that was here on Tara and Avalon, and basically the descendancy of the higher dimensional Earth's consciousness before it went into the fall. So I hold a lot of, crystalline records, and I have known that my race line, the Hydra progenitor race line, the Serpent race line, they have warred with the Dracos and the Reptilians. They were some of the progenitors that fought against. So it was a reptilian war, but they were more of like the original 12D soul holders. So a lot of the guardian races actually descended into the Serpent cosmology and prototype here. This all happened in the motherlands of Mu. This happened in Lemuria. They hybridized with the Serpent cults, basically. Everything at least coming up from the Southern Hemisphere, which is where my history has come from.
How far do you go back?
I would say that I feel that I've achieved eternal atom consciousness, but I don't like to talk about it in any way that's not like humble, so to speak, because there's universal laws here, right? Like we can't really claim things. Like it doesn't work that way because it builds up energy and karma in your negative ego houses. So you have to, pay attention to those things, like always be self-checking. I don't like to hold I really don't even like to hold titles at all. Like I just feel like it's just, Piscean. But it's like, I would say that, yeah, I've achieved certain levels of eternal consciousness, and I've been shown how to live within those currents in the living in this life. But I don't have it down to a full science, but I do know that it's a process of dematerialization, which, there's many processes in which you can take the body through to get to that, but it's a very, dedicated thing that happens. For some of us, you can consciously provoke it to happen. For some of us, it occurs in the body without choice. Like for me, it happened without choice. Like my body was just going through so much rigorous transformation that, I almost died a couple of times. Like it was just completely, at certain points in times, extremely difficult and torturous, right? Like Ascension is not a walk in the park. Ascension is not like butterflies and fairies. Like it's your body's literally transforming from its DNA strands. So there's a lot that goes through you. Cleansing of fire, purification, having to access the deepest levels of the shadow, sometimes slipping into the shadow worlds and the shadow realms and the purgatory realms and the underworld. I exist on the battlefield basically 24/7. Like my life is not easy. Like I am a real, I guess you could say I have a strong indigo type 3 card. So I do a lot of extracting of negative and evil and even demonic energies and transmute these things on the behalf of the collective of the planet. And that takes me into a lot of my grid worker, missions and my adventures that I go on, which currently we're having one come up.
We got about 45 seconds. We've got about 45 seconds before we go to break at the bottom of the hour. Amanda DeMarco, the IndigoAngel, is our guest tonight on the show. When you're going into these dimensions and realms, are you astral traveling?
I don't even feel like it's that anymore. I feel like it's just like a instant lucidity. Like I just read energy extensions and signatures that connect through the infinite mind field. It's like an electric current or something of the brain. So I guess you could call it astral traveling. You could call it remote viewing. You could call it, they're all forms of it, but it's all kind of the same thing. For me, I have particular processes in how I do that. Like I do like to open up.
Well, hold that thought. Hold that thought, because we're going to go to commercial break here at the bottom of the hour. The IndigoAngel, Amanda DeMarco, is here breaking down how to find our higher self, our higher consciousness. Can she take us higher? We'll find out in the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for tuning us in. We will be right back, everybody. All right, we're clear. Cool. Fast half hour, wasn't it? You having fun yet? Amanda?
Oh, yes. I was reading the comments.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Those are good people in there. Good people.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for watching. It's good to be here.
Yeah, let's see here. If I said hello to everybody. All right, we're good. All right. Dragonfly, how you doing? Sightings on 18 wheels. Blow that horn for us if you don't mind. We'd appreciate it. We won't hear it, but it'd be fun if you did. That's if you're in your big rig. Jennifer Pattison, thanks for coming on in. Good times tonight. Barbara Parker. What Sparkles? Hi, Sparkles. How are you? Moon Frieden. Good to see you. Rano. What's happening? All right, we have about 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Gizmo, maybe. Might be a big camp out. Don't know yet. Don't know how I'm going to be limited for time off with the new boss coming up. Ginger Turtle, what's happening? Does everyone agree out there in our YouTube land that Amanda has great looking hair? That's good hair. Good quality hair there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. There's certain things that we like around here. We like good hair. We like a fantastic mustache and a nice power beard. Could be short, could be long, but if it's nicely coiffed, we like to respect that kind of stuff around here.
I love it.
See, Sierra says, or Ginger Turtle says 100% great hair. Sierra says Amanda is very pretty.
Oh,
Vanessa
thank you.
says, good facial hair too. That would be me. Gizmo says angel hair. Simon in Australia says better hair than Dave. Press one. You jerk, Simon. Skip to
my
my Lou says, yes, you have nice hair. CJ Berry says, I have an amazing mustache. Beautiful. Show us that lip blade. Parasolo, how you doing? Big thank you tonight to W. Decker, T-Bone, my man, M, and Joe. Very much appreciate the love. That's how we get things done around here, everybody. Rough Rider. All right, let's kick off the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, our archives are always free. Just go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out the swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. The IndigoAngel, Amanda DeMarco. Her YouTube channel is IndigoAngel. So make sure you check that on out. Hit subscribe. As well, her website, IndigoAngel222.com. So make sure you check it on out. Amanda, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me here, and I'm just excited to keep sharing more.
How do we expand our consciousness to be able to accept ascension, clearing, mindfulness, soul prophecy? How do we do it? How do we start?
That's a really good question. I would say it's about becoming, more self-aware, right? Like what's going on, where your consciousness is at in this process and journey. Understanding your own internal light body and how to navigate within the internal psychic realm and your inner multidimensionality. So it can start as basic as doing some chakra clearing 101, and just kind of understanding the basics. But I think as you transcend and your consciousness evolves, then it requires more advanced ascension knowledge. I think it's about knowledge. I think light in general, it's about bringing more light into your consciousness field, and light is knowledge. So the more you bring in, the more you expand your ability to basically traverse light fields, intelligence fields. It's always a journey of healing. It's a never-ending process of healing. No matter how far you are in the ascension process, you're always going to have to come back to healing and clearing and releasing blockages and implants. I mean, the whole collective at this point is dealing with multiple sets of universal implant systems that were installed intentionally to block humanity's consciousness. So once you start to do things like basic things like clear your chakras out, get in touch with all of these moving parts in your holographic architecture, start to bring in some sort of spiritual transformative pursuit, like study something along the way that can help you with the opening process, right? Because you have to get more information. Of course, it's happening naturally and organically, but you have to start also putting things together, and finding things that make sense for what is happening. And so for each one, that's really different. Everyone carries their own journey and path into that, wherever they resonate or whatever they're called in according to their past lives and their ancestral inheritance, what has come before them. So what is going to awaken somebody to something is going to be entirely different for somebody else, according to that Akashic history. So really, for me, I specialize in the implant removal realm. And I think once you kind of maybe get to that point of awakening or remembrance where you're like, okay, I remember I have some past lives in Atlantis and I have some past lives in Lemuria, or, and you've kind of opened it up on a bigger level where you've For some people, maybe they're clearing their recent past lives, but for some people, it's a bigger jump. They're going more quantum into these further past history and timelines. And there might be a reason for that. They're taking you out of order, right? Because you have to trust the process with source and where you're going for what reasons. You find that there are, overlays of artificial distortions and implants that run within the Earth's field and then also within our body as well. So I help people also remove those types of implant blockages, such as the J seals, the Draco seals, and also the sexual implants that were placed in both men and women during the Lemurian timeline, because there was a whole set of betrayal wounds and trauma things that happened during those timelines that acquired a deep span of sexual misery blockages in people's bodies that they don't even really recognize or realize they have, but they incarnate with it. And it's different for each one's soul, because some people might, they're incarnating with all of these universal implant systems, but they're also maybe coming in with fragmented aspects of their spirit body. Did some of those lifetimes in Atlantis, were they so rough and tough and you went through in a couple implosions and you have some galactic history from the Orion system where you're dismembered into parts? Well, you may have brought some fractured aspects of your soul history into this timeline. You know what I mean? So Ascension starts when you start to decode what it is you carry and what traumas you really have to overcome on a bigger level of the vision of your energy field, I would say.
It's funny that you mentioned the sexual side of everything, and not to sound perverse or anything, but we've talked to Geraldine Orozco numerous times about this, and other people of Ascension who've also had ET contact seem to believe that these ETs, or whatever they are, non-human intelligence, whatever the term is today, seem to want to study a lot of human intimacy regarding this subject. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's at the core of our planetary trauma and history. I mean, the sexual gender splitting that took place happened with the original Maharic twin set, which were Adam and Eve. So when we were divided and became men and women, when we were separated. So what happened was there was this huge fall programming that was basically installed through biblical doctrine that when women were inferior, right, that they came from Adam's rib, but really that gender separation happened simultaneously. This supposedly happened on Mu. This is actually the motherland of Mu, is where they were split, where the gender splitting occurred. Immediately out the gate, Eve was taken for forced breeder programs. So the women on this earth have been under subjugation of sexual persecution and control and enslavement going back to our origins. So this came through a lot of these master geneticists and manipulator race lines, invader race lines that needed the pure DNA of these original, soul lines, mother lines, basically, that were here in the beginning, and needed to force breed them for resource of their genetic code, basically to hybridize their race lines here. So I remember very clearly being a part of these forced breeder programs, even to the point that it's played out again in this life. So yes, women carry an entire plethora of sexual distortions and implants that keep us literally chained to this manifestation template and timeline. And it comes through forced breeder chains and literally implants that women, etheric implants that women wear. I mean, this is harsh stuff. This is harsh stuff. I don't know. Did your audience ready for this? Because I mean, women at one point in time did wear harnesses that they chained them down to force breed women and stud them out to like studs and stuff. This is real stuff that's happened in our history. Specifically like the Irish women and also the Mali and West African women, like their race lines were most subjugated under this torture in more recent timelines through the Atlantic slave trade and things like this. But this goes all the way back to Lemuria, when there was many and multiple tribal genocides. And this is even the story of, the great Anunnaki Thoth. He has a big hand in this as well, that he came in and manipulated some of these betrayal things and kind of pinned men and women against each other. And when this deep soul fragmentation happened, it really was kind of the beginning of this great degradation that has occurred spiritually, the fragmentation of this that's continued to distort itself completely out of control to modern times, where you see this huge dismantling of the nuclear family and the severities of control over females, basically from East and West, planetarily speaking. Like you have the Eastern culture, or the Middle East culture, that there's like a strong control over, the divine feminine. And then it's, opposite and reversed here in the Western culture, where it's like over sexualized and things like this. So they're still warring over things like, the female reproduction. And they're going even beyond that and creating lots of creation fracking technologies where they can hijack and surrogate wombs and clone artificial wombs. Like, this is what they love to do. This is all negative ET stuff. This is what they came to do. But because I remember this so well, I remember when some of the etheric implants were installed through the Cathars and through the Mary Magdalene bloodlines, when they actually installed fleur-de-lis implants into females' wombs, okay, which blocked the creation Stargate. So it created damage in the fourth astral plane. So souls actually come in already kind of corroded and damaged as they try to even access incarnation through the Stargate, through the womb body. So they have all this stuff down to a science. And these are the type of blockages that I help women remove. But men also struggle with these types of things as well. Some of the great ones that men struggle with are, well, obviously, the big one is like porn implants, but hedonistic implants. They struggle because there's much more dark side of sexuality when it comes to men. Like it's more distorted, and it's more like, I think there's more demonic forces that are, have strongholds on these things, such as like Malak. And this leads us into, the Catholic Church and the Vatican and pedophilia. But really, I think that began for men globally when they started with the satanic ritual abuse of circumcision. So that was like a big, a big thing that was done as a ritual. I think it came down through Abraham, actually. I've read scripture. I don't have direct quotes at this moment, but like they talk about, when this first came in. And so this has really wounded the soul body and the gender identity of men, and the mission ultimately has been, when that great betrayal took part in Lemuria, what happened was they captured a lot of the tribal women that carried the Yana spirit, the 12D soul. They took them for the forced breeder programs, but they took the men and castrated them and basically murdered them. So
nice. That's real nice. Pleasant.
Yeah. Yes. So yes, it's a lot. It's a lot, but we have a very wild, interesting human history, that is for sure. But this is what we're working to heal at this time also. I think many of us have awoken to this wounding, planetarily speaking. And so it's become a part of our mission to help salvage where we're at in these timelines and help people to transcend these things. Because if you want to go through ascension and really get to the higher side of things, like you've got to be able to release sexual misery implants. You have to be able to release any modification or manipulation that's been done unto your DNA by negative ET intruder race lines. And you have to be able also to detach yourself from like negative and demonic entities and spirits. You really have to cut yourself free from any reincarnation matrix or soul harvesting traps. And this is just a daily clearing. So
why do we got to do it daily? Some of us don't even have time to go to the bathroom properly on a daily basis, let alone clearing our chakras and our negative energies. Yes.
But, I'm just reading some of the comments again. It's all about, your level of commitment to it. How far do you want to go within it? For me, it's a life mission. It's a life purpose. So it's all consuming, and so I put everything I have into that. And I've been doing so much energy work and healing with people for so long that it's allowed me to see into the scope of all kinds of things that would have never been possible if I hadn't been, doing so much energy work all the time. So it serves a purpose for one's development. And for me, I was meant to I guess, reprogram my mind, so to speak, and to awaken my gifts and my abilities. And so I was, gifted information and technology to do that. And it's been a lot of work. I would say my ascension has been like hard work working on myself.
I want to ask you, because usually this leads to some sort of extraterrestrial presence. How have you been, or how has your path been defined by not only the spiritual aspect, but the extraterrestrial aspect?
I think they go one and the same for me. I mean, I don't always define it by visually seeing ETs, or any types of ETs, but I have. For me, it's been a very interdimensional experience. And so that's come with communication with, honestly, I felt like there was a couple years in my ascension journey where I was just communicating like directly with radial source intelligence, from different systems. And so they showed me that for me personally, I never needed to connect in with ET presence. I would just streamline data information straight from the Stargate itself. So I think everything in our existence in our universe is a part of our creation. And I think there is a lot of truth in the fact that the star systems are the races that have seeded this ovum, this egg. So I think that, the ET history is our history. And, we are technically the ETs. Like, even if we can't awaken to fully remember, but we are genetically hybridized with these race lines. I mean, I feel like this has been going on since Tara, since the original Earth consciousness. Some of the negative ETs that were involved on Tara were the Zetas, the Zeta Reticuli, and also the Zionites as well. There was a couple race lines there that were hybridizing that human genetic gene code. So I think we've kind of been an experiment to some degree and a little bit of like a petri dish, but it doesn't mean that there's not purity, because it's hybridized with angelic soul lines as well. It's just kind of like what genetic code is dominant within your field, right? Some people have very strong percentage of the reptilian gene code. They're very affiliated through their bloodline directly through the descendancy of the Sumerian Draconian invasion and Anunnaki. So they're going to be a more denser body, a denser type. They'll actually have a heavier bone density. Their bodies actually weigh more, and they've really kind of gone through the O positive bloodline for that. Like that, O positive and O negative. Either way, O is the chosen bloodline for reptilians to try to hybridize with. Like, that's what they want the most. But it's been happening. This is what, a lot of this is. Some of these race lines have come up subterranean. A lot of the Draco have come up subterranean. So, and you'll see in the end times, they're going back down subterranean. I mean, where are we going as the Earth evolves? Like, you're going to see all these elitist, Zionitist, like reptilian body types. They'll be going back underground. They'll be having their underground bunkers and stuff because they remember what they did once before, for their survival. So I think we've all been here much more than this procession. Really what's kind of been revealed to us is the Hyperborean timelines, the Polarians, the Lemurians, the Motherlands of Mu, Atlantis, the Aryan timelines, the Dark Ages, Tartaria, all of this, right? Like, this is what's been revealed. But I think, this goes back even into further processions. This Earth's been here like 3.5 billion years. So it's just that I don't even think the planet is awakened to that history. So in order for us to even remember a lot of that, the planet's going to have to go a little bit higher in her ascension evolution. But she's already an ascended planet, technically. She's already a 12D Earth planet. So what keeps us locked in the fourth dimension is frequency fences. So if all of the negative artificial planetary weaponry shut down right now, I mean, within 3 days, we would probably repair most of our organic organism and the planet could bounce back and we would naturally integrate our higher evolutionary consciousness. But because there's negative weaponry from what the negative ones have done, they've limited consciousness and have put implants. For most people, it's right at the fourth dimensional field. This is why the heart can't awaken, but there are implants there that were placed basically to hold people in limitation. So they can't transcend out of it. Or if they do, then they're kind of fighting the battle of the inorganic frequencies all the time. You know, the La Cucaracha being one of those things, right? Like, I won't go in that direction, but I mean, there's many things in which they reinvent many tactics, you know, to keep us adhered to those frequency fences. And they turn them on all the time. I mean, they're very activated right now as we speak. I think even the last week I got like a serious Ascension cold, and my body started activating to all of these Ascension symptoms kind of out of nowhere. And I know now that that usually comes on with inundation of artificial frequency. So what they're doing on the planet also plays into our Ascension as well. Like, what's activating this, right? Because in some ways, your Ascension process is also your spiritual immune system coming online to try to fight against what's resisting and what's pushing against your innate original angelic consciousness and spirit body. So it's really difficult, because if people have high reptilian consciousness and gene code, what's going to play out for them is there's going to be a huge consumption of their own light, right? So
Right.
Yeah, it's going to consume themselves. And this is where a lot of the nastiness and the lower negative qualities and attributes of survival and predatorial domination and control, sexual miseries, forced breeder programs, hybridizing, all of the crazy things that we can think of.
Are you a member of the hybridization program?
I have hybridization trauma, definitely, that I've had to transcend more and more. And I awaken more to what those things are all the time. Yeah.
It is a tough pill to swallow when you don't know what these ethereal or extraterrestrial beings are doing to you at that time. And I could say that as someone who has been taken more than once. And it is a little bit rough to try and discern, especially when they're putting up images to block what they are doing to you. How do you get through that? We got about 2 minutes to go.
I reclaim sovereignty. Well, you know, I've had some grays and zetas come forward and try to show me certain abduction technologies and tactics in which they do. There is a science to abduction mechanics and technology. So they have very advanced ways in which they go about this stuff. But a lot of times, you know, you have implant locator and tracker devices in your holographic body. So they locate you and they impact you and implement you in the lucid and the astral. You know, if I come in contact with those things, I will basically take a second to read the energy, because sometimes there is information in which that's trying to come through that's necessary for a reason, whether it's on the side of good or not, right? I find and figure myself to be a truther. So whatever I'm being shown, I try to understand it from more of like an observative lens. But if I feel like something has attached to me and has penetrated me and is working through me as some sort of negative interference or influence that's trying to take over my consciousness in some way, then I just quickly rebuke the energy, shield my field, and work to dismantling it from wherever it's attached in me, basically, because they like to go to your weak spots, your insecurities and your fears. The really nasty ones go to your inner childhood fears and all kinds of stuff, and meddle in between your relationships and basically try to ruin your life. Like, if they're really bad, negative, it could be a negative ET, or it could be a satanic Luciferian type of thing, whatever it is. But it's real stuff and it plays out. But
well, hold that thought.
Yeah.
Hold that thought, because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. The Indigo Angel, Amanda DeMarco, is here talking about Ascension rising. Between all of us and humans, we continue the conversation when we return on Spaced Out Radio for Hour 2. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. So far, so good. That's 1 hour down. It's a fast one tonight. It's a fast one. King of Waco Mundo, what's happening? All right. Amanda, I'm going to put you in the green room. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to step away, take a quick break. I'll be right back. Okay. Here we go. There. Be right back. All right, I am back, and we are Spaced Out Radio. All right. Let's bring Amanda back in. Hello.
Hello.
Having fun?
I am having a blast. There's a lot of humor and a lot of laughs here, so it's very lighthearted and fun.
Oh, yeah, we got good people in here. Except for Just Min, because he's still pissed off at me about the hockey playoffs. But I don't mind. I don't mind. All right. Thank you tonight to Joe, W. Decker, T-Bone ×2, and M for the super chats. If you have questions, put them in capital letters, and I will get them to Amanda. Appreciate that. We got about 10 seconds. Here we go. All right, here comes hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Talking some aliens and Ascension. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America. We appreciate you chatting with us tonight. And, of course, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Buckminster Fullerene. Buckminster Fullerene is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. So let's continue on. Amanda DeMarco, the Indigo Angel, is here with us tonight, and we are getting into alien contact and ascension. How does it work? Does it work? What's it all about? What are the ETs trying to tell us? Even though some of them aren't very nice. Amanda's website is IndigoAngel222.com and Indigo Angel on YouTube. Amanda, welcome back.
Thank you so much. It's so exciting to be here.
It is exciting for you to be here. All right.
It is, yes.
Yeah, it is exciting because we're fun around here. We have a lot of interesting topics, and you're one of them tonight. We're right before the break. We were getting into the whole ET thing. You got aliens. I got aliens. A bunch of us got some aliens hanging around. And for you, do you like having that type of contact to help guide your mind, body, and soul?
Well, I think that things have recently shifted more for me. Like, I focus less on that type of contact, and I just really do connect directly with source, like the eternal energy, like the eternal creator. Like, for me, I've bypassed a lot of that because it's, at least where I'm at now in my spiritual evolution, I feel like those things still play under, within, and through the creator. So you can access it for information, I think, and it can help you with a lot of things, that pertain to, I think, the Galactic agenda and the Guardian Alliance and what these agendas are here. But I think for me, ultimately, I've kind of come back to alignment with just kind of connecting directly with source energy at this point. And when I channel, like it's more of, I don't get my information from any specific beings. Like it's just accessing the lucidity and the field psychically, basically for me. So again, I'm reading like energy waves and mind wave fields, energy structures. Sometimes I'm reading holographic, signatures, energy signatures, or like artifacts, feelings, emotions, pins or pains in my body. There's lots of ways in which I tune into what, the etheric message is. But Right now, a lot of the channeling goes towards doing a lot of like land shamanism and clearing the, stuck energies that are in the planet. So I work more on the grids, more specifically, in terms of my collective mission. So I host remote grid worker missions, and then I also host boots on the ground grid worker missions. And that's kind of like where my focus has gone. So even though I'm a part of the Starseed community, which is where I think that consciousness is, and galactic history is within that, I would say that I think I'm evolving on my journey even more and more into like different studies and practices these days, for sure.
As you find yourself ascending to that higher realm and a higher spiritual guidance, do you feel you're leaving people behind, people around you that you love and care about who may not be on the same path as you, or do you try and combine them with what you are learning?
I would say that yes. I mean, some people have been left behind, and some people who are meant to kind of stay on the journey with me do. There are people, in my life that aren't awakened or activated and ascended, in which I still hold a lot of like love and space for them. Like it's not, it's kind of like there's just certain things you can't talk about with them because there's not an attention span or a capacity for it, basically. And it's just not their time to wake up and ascend in this life. Like they might be here for another 200 rounds, before they're going to wake up and ascend. So I'm just kind of communicating with, I'm like a future version, like my consciousness is in the future, and they're kind of in a different timeline, so to speak, and a different level of awareness within their body mechanics and ascension mechanics. So we all definitely function according to the 3D matrix. There's no getting around that. Everything is built in this like physical form through that. So we have to navigate with the matrix all the time. But some of us are just navigating the matrix, and some of us are navigating the inner multidimensionality that resides, within that. So I think you just find ways to integrate those people in your life if they're valuable and important people to you. You know what I mean? How do you feel about it?
I feel that the people around me, and that's actually a good question. I feel the people around me who have not ascended or are not ready to ascend are people that I don't bring up the subject with. They can't comprehend what I am going through. Then I find that a lot of spiritual people, because it is kind of an in thing now, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, where they put up a lot of facades, where they think they're all about peace, love, and light, and really they have no depth to what they are doing. And I think anybody who's made an ascension or gone down the rabbit hole, as I like to say, where you have figured out the whole process of what to do, I think you could see right through that they are just a facade of what they are doing. It's kind of like they're not practicing what they preach.
Yeah.
And they're just saying it because it gives them good conversation pieces between their spiritual friends or the people that are around them. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's definitely true. And there's just a lot of people that I think just haven't opened up their ocular systems. Like they're shut down, because the awakening ultimately starts at the heart. Like your first eye is in the heart. And so for a lot of people, this is closed. Their ability to feel, which is ultimately the gateway to spirituality, is damaged and blocked, and it's usually held down by carbon. Really honestly, like on a level of chemistry, like what's happening is your carbon is breaking down. So you can actually sense the crystalline consciousness, the crystal consciousness within your body, and tune into those ocular systems of the first eye and the heart, even your two eyes. You have to break down corrosive lenses and distorted lenses. There's so much that goes into becoming very purified, I think, because the spiritual journey is deeply about purification and spiritual transformation. And so, those that aren't there, I think you can't push them into that awakening. I think you can send them subtle messages, like really, because you're coming from the future timeline. You can send them these subtle messages and you can like get their wheels to start turning. But I don't know. I honestly don't focus on it at all. Like I just let people be who and where and what they are, because it's their relationship with source and their higher self at the end of the day. And it's all being divinely orchestrated and directed for all human beings on earth, no matter how much they've been hybridized and traumatized through invader race lines. Like every race line, whether it's a guardian race or a negative intruder race, is trying to rehabilitate their DNA. It is an ascension process for everyone involved on the planet. It is actually that. We just don't have full understanding, I think, into each one of those genetic codes. And it's really kind of comes down to the race lines that are in service to others and the race lines that are in service to self. So all the negative ET intruder races, they're in service to their self. They're in service to survival. They're in service to a more conquer and divide type tactic, and unfortunately, that more aggressive predatorial approach keeps the ones who are more, gentle in their approach, kind of oppressed under this ruling hierarchy and thumb, basically. And also human beings are just inundated with all kinds of like mind control programs and propaganda and big brotherhood tech and AI, transhumanist agendas. Like there's just so much that I think we're up against that it's just really hard for people to find, that pure footing and pure alignment to what is my role here? Like, what is my purpose? Everybody should be asking that question. Everybody should be really trying to align and push against the resistance of the resistant lines and leagues and aim towards that service to self mindset, and to clear hatred, because a lot of these genetic lines come in with so much hatred on their genetic encoding that that's really what rules the dark ones, so to speak. Is there's a lot of hatred and self-loathing and a lot of that stuff that's going on.
Is there as much darkness out there as we believe there is?
Well, I'm a planetary grid worker, so I have took it upon myself to go to reversal Stargate locations, which are locations that are basically the closest you can get on Earth to a black wormhole system. So I've gone to the Vatican and also Washington, D.C., like boots on the ground mission, and kind of felt those energies there. And yeah, there is a real agenda in each one of those places. There's a real living energy. Like at the Vatican, like the portal to the underworld there is open. It's completely open and it's seething through the walls of the Vatican. It's seeping out. I mean, while I was there, I was spiritually attacked for 2 weeks straight, having sleep paralysis. And demonic spirits were coming into my dream space and just like doing torturous things. They would like to suspend me up off the floor and basically hold me, off the floor. And it's just the worst feeling to me. So they do things. They will try to interfere. And the force is real and it gets activated and amped up. When we have spiritual attacks that are going around, when you hear things from the Vatican that are happening, like the news and stuff, like this happened at the Vatican, that happened at the Vatican, they're always reporting on it. It's because that reversal Stargate is going through an activation and it's pumping out that demonic energy from what they hold, because their past history is basically, inundated with ancestral blood, basically. And so there's a lot of black magic and ritual abuse and a lot that's just within that needs to be healed and cleared. And so that's collective trauma that we're all dealing with, right? Like the Templars, the Crusades, the Cathars,
Oh, true. But tell us about how the healing process works for people. We could talk about it, but how do we do it?
Well, for every single one, it's different, right? Like you have to figure out what it is that's ailing you. You have to really self-decode. For me, it was about really understanding my spiritual mechanics. Like, I had to fully decode that. I had to go to every nook and cranny of my consciousness and invoke things, like call forth the realities, call forth the memories. You have to understand yourself, know who thyself is. What is it you come in with? You have to clear the victim-victimizer programs. You have to clear your programming. You have to understand what your programming is in the first place and what your self-belief systems are. Are these things in negative thought patterns? Are these things in a reversal pattern? Are these things connected to a reversal Stargate and pulling you into an underworld and a descension cycle and timeline? You have to kind of really evaluate where you're at and then decide, is this something I can devote myself to? Can I devote myself to myself and put myself up on a pedestal and start giving myself the things I actually need to lift myself into the higher timelines and be in an ascension timeline, an ascending timeline where you're not held down and boggled by the misery? So it's a full evaluation. It's not just this or that or this or that. I do these evaluations. Like, I have a process that I do if people choose to come and work with me. Now, don't get me wrong. You can do this stuff on your own, and you should be doing this stuff on your own. And as a spiritual healer, you should be teaching people how to become their own masters, right? Because you don't want to form codependent bonds with people where they need you to a point that they can't heal themselves. So you want to give them the gifts and the technology to do it themselves. But for me personally, I do a consultation. I kind of talk to people and figure out where they're at, what their spiritual journey has looked like, what they've been through, what's important to them. Really listen to people. Sometimes people just need to be heard. I mean, that's a huge part of it. And so after that, I would do a deep chakra clearing, which would be a deeper evaluation of someone's energy field and help them to clear things. So if there's things running in the inner, it could be inner childhood clearing and healing work. It could be ancestral clearing and healing work. It could be this life trauma, relationship trauma. You can't think of yourself everything's in the past life. You have to look at everything that's going on in this life. And then you can see the windows and the doors of how it's connected to the past life and which past lives are holding weight coming in, where the amnesia or the blockages are of not remembering or holding that space in your field. So you want to try to open up as much as you possibly can. And again, drop weight. You have to understand what's holding weight inside you. So that's usually heavy emotions. That's usually guilt, shame, fear, inability to grieve or recognize their emotions, or, all of this stuff, right? Again, looking at someone's sexual history and relationship history is a huge part of that, because relationship wounding is one of the biggest things that keep people locked in, more of the suffering timelines and all of these things. So putting a lot of focus on relationship healing in your life is also just as much, I think, can be just as important as also working on yourself, because we are tribal by nature. We are community beings by nature, and we need to have people in our life. We just really can't exist without having reflective, healthy mirrors. So that's another thing too. You want to find out who are the people in your circle that are supporting the healthy mirror and can really support your growth versus support your downfall, right? So it's a lot of setting boundaries, cutting cords, detaching. This is in depth. You can't look at healing I can just go get a couple sessions or do a couple meditations and I'm going to be healed. It's a life journey, because most of these wounds are corrosive and they're ulcerative in your field, which means that they've created scar tissue in your etheric light body. So which means they actually don't ever heal. You become more accepting of what has happened. And you learn to accept those parts of yourself, and you learn to become at peace with yourself. And then you learn to surrender and let go of what has inflicted pain and trauma. For a lot of people, sometimes it's rewiring things. They actually have to rewire their entire mental structure, especially if they're dealing with addiction patterns and things like this. You have to rewire your brain. because you're dealing with all kinds of distortions in your serotonin and your dopamine and all this stuff, right? So it's extensive, but it's not impossible. You can get a handle on it. I think once you've done more of the basic things, like recognize your basic needs. Like, do you need to ground? Do you need to get out in nature? Do you need to put more emphasis on your diet? Like, for me, diet is huge. Diet is what saves my life. Like, I'm a juicer, so I juice carrot juice and celery juice, and I do apples and ginger, and I bring in the living enzymes because I'm an HSP. I'm a highly sensitive person. I can't really live without high vibrational, like, organic organisms coming into my body. Like, I break down. Like, my vibration just drops immediately. So it supports it. You have to figure out what supports the light body, because most people's light bodies are tattered, torn, messed up. They got rips and tears in their space-time continuum. They got a trash can full of implants that are just tearing them down. And sometimes it's a matter of being the cleanup crew. Like, you literally have to go in and you have to extract those implants from a core soul level. And this is deep Akashic work. So it will go deeper and deeper and deeper into the layers as you become more self-aware of your existence and your physical body. They weren't lying when they told us our physical body is our temple. We should treat this temple as such. We should treat it as if this is the house of God. And this is what the Lemurians ultimately taught. A lot of this knowledge has been lost, right? It's been intentionally and purposefully targeted and destroyed. But there are a lot of sacred books and things, that went down in the Library of Alexandria with Hypatia and that whole thing that happened. That they have a lot of stuff. So, I mean, it's the spiritual knowledge. Yes, they want to take this from us. They don't want us to have this. If we were teaching our children right out the womb this stuff, you know what I mean? We would have a much more constructive and healthy future with our children. But unfortunately, this is why I fight so hard. I'll be honest with you. I'm on the front lines. I'm definitely a freedom fighter. Right. Yeah.
We got 2 minutes to go before we got to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, Amanda DeMarco is here, the IndigoAngel. As we look to try and improve ourselves, and we look to God or source or the aliens or our inner consciousness, whatever it may be, how does manifestation and meditation play out in this?
Well, everything we do in terms of our healing and our becoming more conscious is playing out within our manifestation template and our manifestation blueprint. So I guess it kind of depends where you are in your path and where you want to focus. I mean, you can focus your energy on manifestation and meditation. I think meditation is clearly a pathway for us to connect into these interdimensional parts, such as our higher self and our guides, our guardians, those that we work with on the interdimensional spectrum. I mean, it's a part of this process. It just depends what you need. Is meditation what you need at this time? You kind of have to decide that for your own path work. I've gone on and off. I'll just put it an example. I've gone on and off in my life where I've done a lot of meditation and then I've tapered off for a while because I didn't need as much meditation. So I could focus on other things. Other aspects of my healing or different directions that I want to go in. And then sometimes I come back to it. You know
Awesome.
what I mean? So
awesome. Stay right there. We got you for another half an hour. Amanda DeMarco, IndigoAngel. We're going to take audience questions next. Stay tuned. This is Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. The second half of the show is coming up right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. Good times tonight. Good times tonight. Thank you, T-Bone. Noko, don't forget to hit subscribe if you're hanging out here, please. And thank you. Excuse me. I apologize. Long day
Are you
today.
sleepy?
I have been going. I put in almost a 12-hour shift at my daytime job today. Well, pardon me, 10-hour shift. And then I got home. My son and I had a game of hockey, floor hockey. And he cheated, beat me in overtime. We play 5-minute periods. They beat me in overtime after I tied it up. Little jerk. And raced into the studio. And here I am. Dave works in finance. Sierra. So sometimes I get hit where it's just like, oh man. But that's usually every day. Every day. Just kind of roll with it. I have water. Right, Kira? Water. She's my spiritual ass kicker on myself. I love it. She's the best. All right. Got that one. We got some good questions coming up for you.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Told you this was going to go fast.
Yeah, I can talk, actually, I feel like for a long
You're
time.
a good talker. You got some talking skills.
I can talk a lot. It's hard sometimes to stop once I start, actually.
There we go. Got that ready. That ready. We got about 1 minute here, my friend. 1 minute. All right. Big thank you to T-Bone with a hat trick of super chats tonight. Thank you. M, W. Decker, and Joe. Very much appreciate the love and support. Asimov, how you doing? Good to see you. And we'll get to that question, Simon. Don't worry. Don't forget you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You can wear our stuff in public and be proud. Just go look at it. Find something for you. There's a little bit for everybody. Just a little dabble, do you? True. Here we go. Here we go, the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate burning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful ascended planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. She calls herself the IndigoAngel. Amanda DeMarco is here, sharing her efforts to ascend all of us to higher spiritual beings. You can definitely check her out on her YouTube page, IndigoAngel. You can also find her on her website, IndigoAngel222.com. Amanda, thank you so much for being here tonight. This has been so much fun.
Well, thank you for having me. It's really good to come and try something new. And so I'm excited to make new friends.
We're good. We're good.
Yeah.
All right. We do have some audience questions built up for you. Let's start off with Sierra, who is asking, could you please explain how the 12-stranded DNA works? How does 2 strands become 12?
Well, they're within the 2 strands. Basically, I think the 2 strands are the greater double helix set that was formed, and the 12-strand DNA template runs within that. And so the original angelic human race was created with a 12-strand DNA template, 12 sets of 2 strands. So it originally was a double helix, but a lot of this has been blocked. Really, the overall planetary ascension awakening process should be you lighting up to activate all 144 chromosomes. So this would be multiple 12-strand rounds of tribal 12-dimensional rounds of tribal activations that would bring those 12 strands online. This actually coincides with your universal tree of life geometry. So I guess if you can't work to activate the 12 strands through, visualizing or working with the DNA, you can work more solely with the universal tree of life, because this is also a part of the holographic templating, in which also supports and connects into the 12 strands. So your universal tree of life is like a holographic geometry in which supports, it's the first level and layer to your light body field. So it's what holds all of your ancestral codes, your mother and father chromosomes. It holds the honeycomb structures and the flower of life geometries as well. And it's their access points and gateways and vortices that open up to your quantum energy. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I see it. The original beings that were created here on Earth came in with all 12 strands activated. Right now, most people are, if you're an indigo or a starseed, you're probably coming in with your 4th strand to your 6th strand activated. And then from there, it's a rehabilitation process to get all the other strands activated.
All right, let's move on to the next question. Let's go to Just Min. I thought Mai was the continent that the Lemurians were from. Is there a planet or system called, or I'm thinking Mu.
Mu, yeah.
Yeah. Is there a planet or system called Mu now also?
There might be one. But as far as I know, the motherland of Mu was a giant continent in the Pacific. that this was kind of where it originated. If you guys have read any Charles C. Churchward's work, he was like a novelist from like Great Britain who like traveled down to India and all of the ancient Lemurian, like Madagascar, and kind of tried to pull as much Lemurian records as he possibly could find, and everything he found took him back to the motherlands of Mu. Supposedly it was a great continent. There was like 264 million people on this continent. Like it was a big, ascending civilization. But apparently there was geological upheaval. Mu sunk into the Pacific, and the remnants of Mu are the Lemurian islands, like the Pacific Island, the Polynesian Triangle, Easter Islands, the ancient land bridge of Kundam Kumari, the southern tip of India, Australia, Madagascar. This is all the remnants of what's left of Lemuria. Although Lemuria did actually span all the way to Giza and like up into Egypt and stuff, and like the entire Mediterranean Sea. So there was a time where all of it was Lemuria, like the whole earth was Lemuria, basically. But once the grid structures kind of dismantled themselves within the Lemurian timeline, because Lemuria rides on an old equatorial pole tilt. So to access Lemuria or even the motherlands of Mu energetically and psychically speaking, you have to line your body with those pre-ancient Earth equatorial tilts. And you can access it that way through the ley lines in the planet and also your own universal tree of life as you access deeper into your meridian line structures and things like this. It's kind of a way to jump timelines, like, more consciously and activate the reality fields. But I would say that Mu was, all the descendants from Mu were the Lemurians, technically.
Let's take the next one here. Zaddy is asking, what role does heaven and hell play in this theory? You mentioned Satan and demons, but not much about God and Jesus.
Well, I'm thinking about that. So the role of heaven and hell, I mean, it's definitely the battle of duality and the universal laws of polarity, the universal laws of gender. Wherever we have the duality basically playing out, there's separation that comes between those two things. And this is kind of where we get stuck as a human collective, right? We get stuck in like the separation of these things. But I think they can be measured in weight and density. Like hell is down, heaven is up. Dissension is going down into the timelines. It's going down into more of a heavy emotional experience, which is equated with more hardships and difficulties and challenges and chaos, right? If you're existing down in the 1D field, you're existing in a hell experience. If you are transcending fourth dimensional timelines to 6 to 12 dimensional timelines, you're having a heaven on earth like experience. But beyond that, the heaven and earthly realms do exist more interdimensionally and etherically. There are heavenly realms that begin at the celestial plane. Like the firmament is where the first realm of heaven begins. The celestial bodies are the first realm of heaven. So it's all playing out. Like it's it's one big beautiful story where it's all coexisting together, I would say. And the dark forces, the dark spirits, the satanic spirits, the demons, all these things, like, yeah, I mean, we exist in a battlefield. The third dimension is the battlefield for consciousness. It's the battlefield for survival. So, it's all like, that's what I said. I exist in the battlefield, as a warrior, as a spiritual warrior, as we all do. I think we have to keep source and our connection to God very close. And I think we should definitely honor the prophets that have brought forward this information, but at the same time, learn to read through the deception of the doctrine and the programs in which they're trying to install into us. So you have to take what feels right within all of that for yourself. And it's for each one's journey to do that, I would say. Yeah.
All right, let's continue on here. Let us go next to, let's see here, Just Min again. Why do us on Earth have a double helix DNA? Does a triple helix structure allow for more genetic modifications, and do we need to morph to ascend?
That's an interesting question. Does a triple helical structure? I've heard that like anything outside of the 2-strand could be a mutation. Whether it's working on the side of good or not, I'm not entirely sure. I don't have a lot of like knowledge around what the what a triple strand activation would look like. In terms of, you know, self-awareness, in terms of what you're experiencing, but I think we transcend within the structures of our DNA ultimately. Like they become more expanded. So you go higher up to like a 12th dimensional experience, to a 24th dimensional experience, to a 36, to a 48, all the way to 144. Like you're activating all the chromosomes and the proteins and all of the structures within to bring back what's the junk DNA, right? Like it's basically expanding and contracting within your field, which can also be equivalent to the ascension and descension process. But when you expand and contract, what happens is your consciousness expands to hold a lot of light and information. That gets compacted and broken down, and the geometry structures within your field rewrite themselves. And then it upgrades the DNA coding sheets and all of the like seals within your DNA. So, I mean, I would have to study more on the 3rd strand. That's a good question. Yeah, what that's happening.
M is asking, Indy, can I ask you about the amethyst order and the violet ray? Also the Kunda ray field. What do you got for us there?
Well, the amethyst order is, I think it came through the Brenu race lines. Like it came through the like original avatars of like the original Rishik consciousness bodies. The violet ray would be the hottest ray. Basically, it's the highest transformative flame or ray that you can utilize or work with. That is a part of the Kunda ray sound current. So the Kunda ray is actually a living sound field current within the threefold founder flames. And so I think the violet flame is a spectrum within that. And I'm learning more about the Kunda ray right now. I think it's very relative right now for inner earth and inner earth gate clearings. So sound healing is it's definitely a technology of 12-strand DNA original angelic blueprint holders. So they would have worked with the Kunda ray sound fields to clear and cleanse like dark forces inside of the planet. This is something that we're starting to go into more and more right now. Basically, angelic sound tones are a part of the Kunda ray. Anything of like a high order, like a violin or like a harp or like even like a sound bowl at like the higher frequencies. I heard that the Kunda ray evolution is going more into plasma sound versus Hertz, and Hertz is on the way out. Basically, Hertz is like an old vibrational sound system that's no longer kind of serving the new Earth's trajectory in terms of like frequency. So yeah, there's a lot to explore within all of that.
Let's go to Simon. Most important question we'll ask tonight. Do you eat breakfast foods for dinner?
Occasionally. Yeah.
I knew there was something wrong here. Breakfast foods are breakfast foods for a reason.
I mean, what would I mean, it's been a long time since I've done something like that, but I mean, I don't see why not if I'm hungry.
Eggs.
I'm not too picky. Not too picky.
It's all meant for breakfast. Terrible people. Audience in the chat room, bringing up the whole breakfast for dinner thing. I mean, it's just mean. It's just mean right there. You know, breakfast foods are for breakfast. Okay.
It's a fun, lighthearted, silly question. So I think those are fun.
There is only, I mean, yes, some things are universal. Bacon is universal. Pizza is universal. Okay. The good stuff. But no
Yeah.
breakfast foods for dinner. You gonna sit down and eat a grapefruit for dinner? No. All right. Anyways, I could rant about that. Let's go to Just Min. Do you know about the Project Looking Glass? It has to do with the stargates you speak of. You may find it informative. Stargates require high voltage and argon gas apps, i.e., they exist in nature.
Well, I feel like, yeah, looking glass technology would have been stuff that came in through, I really feel like it was the Greys that brought that into the Eisenhower administration. There's some stuff within particular presidential leaderships that I think maybe brought the negative form of it in. I know there's like a looking glass technology book. It's called like a yellow book, and it's supposed to be buried up underneath like the White House in front of the Capitol. And like it's where like the source of the technology resides, like inside the, I don't really know. Psychically, I've seen it like in the looking glass. So there's like a looking glass water. There's like a reflecting pool. So it sits by the reflecting pool in the Capitol. So this is supposedly like where the information sits. But I think looking glass technology expands into many different facets of projects, like the Nexus projects and systems, the Montauk projects, Pegasus projects, transhumanist agendas. Looking glass technology is being used basically all over by particular dark military factions. And so it's spyware, basically. It's just a level of spyware. If I was to do a session with someone, I would clear looking glass technology before I access their field in case they have it. So, I mean, you can clear it. It's basically spyware in the interdimensional spectrum. I don't think it's something they can hijack a Stargate with, because Stargate energy, like if it's an organic ascending Stargate, the power of the vortexes are really pure and protected. So if they did install it, it would have to be around like further areas of the perimeter. And so a Stargate can technically be hijacked, but I think the tech only goes so far because it's really powerful organic radial source light energy. So Stargates require high voltage or argon gas apps. Well, Stargates are kind of like the inner Earth auric body. Like they're the inner aura of the planet. Like they hold the components for the aura. So it could be a gaseous quality. And it would be like a high electrical charge, but it would be like an organic, balanced electromagnetic charge, basically. But each Stargate tech and mechanics are different as well, depending on where you are in the Earth. So it's really different. Each one is powered differently.
All right, let's continue on here. Let's go to Zaddy. If they are ascended, they being the ETs, why would they need to breed? Couldn't they just duplicate or something?
Well, that's what duplicating is. Breeding is duplicating. Well, the thing is I wouldn't say they're all ascended. There's a lot of manipulation within the ascended consciousness fields. Basically, anything that's truly ascended is really existing like out of this time-space matrix. Like it's not really entirely like in this matrix. A lot of these negative ET lines, they need to hybridize with humans because they need the genetic body, they need the genetic code to like incarnate their species here. So because a lot of them are hyperdimensional, so they're like fourth or fifth or even ninth density beings, so they would need to, they come in through the race morphogenetic field of the planet, and this disperses the consciousness through the Stargate systems. The Stargate systems are incarnation portals for the ETs, whether they're a guardian nation or they're a negative ET intruder race. They're coming through the Earth's race morphogenetic field. So that's kind of like the planetary genetic brain and like the infinite mind field of the planet. And that's, that stuff is, it's a whole planetary science in itself. But They breed because it's race domination and control. Like there's this, like, I guess, survival of the fittest type of mentality going on here. Like they need to be in this planet for the resources. This planet has lots of resources here, such as gold and iridium and all kinds of elements. You know, like most of the ETs that are dropping in and out of Sedona portals right now, they're there to mine resources because they're expanded higher elemental components of like an alchemical mineral that's there. So they go there to mine the minerals. Like they do experimentation on this stuff and figure out how they can utilize it for their high-tech evolution. I mean, each one of these race lines has a different agenda, and none of them can really see each other. So there's a lot of blinders. There's a lot of filters. But as you activate 144 chromosomes, you come to interpret each one of these genetic codes and their agendas and what they ultimately serve, because you're actually activating the code within yourself. So this is what a full universal tree of life activation would bring through your 12-strand codes. The point of ascension ultimately on a high galactic level is to become the consciousness of every single race line that exists here and transcend what it is that they're working with here on the planet. And so if you can do that, you're really assisting the planet with so much, because really the goal is not to push away all of the ET and negative races and judge and label and condemn and persecute. It's to ultimately understand what their existence is about here and to hold compassion and mercy for it, basically. And that's the God consciousness coming in, because it's all a part of Source's creation, honestly, even though there's bad and negative, which is so crazy how we have to wrap our mind around through this stuff. But
we have just over 2 minutes to go here before we have to say goodnight to you. Let's try and sneak in another question here. And let's go to Mike. I would like to hear you talk about the Kundera field, pardon me. I think we already asked that.
yeah.
Let's get to another question. Let's go to Kira. Do you speak light language? If so, what ET race do you speak? Can you speak a little here?
I don't like to do light language. It's not a part of my gifts. My gifts are more linguistic. So I was taught my light language is to speak at a higher encoded level that expands consciousness just by listening to what I say. So that's kind of what my light language is. Like everything that I was doing tonight was light language, technically. So no, I don't speak light language. I have a lot of people who do it in my groups and stuff. For me, I have done it before, but it's not something I feel like super good about doing, I guess, so to speak.
We might have time for one more here. Let's see here. Castle Dude, if I have a higher self, do I have a lower self whom I am the higher self of?
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, we do have a higher self and a lower self. I mean, the negative or the ego in general would be holding the houses of your lower self. So it's the requirement of the higher self to identify the lower self and the functions of that ego, because you kind of do have like a positive ego and a negative ego. So it's really, you need to kind of evaluate what the negative ego qualities and attributes are and learn to keep them in submission to your higher self. And that liberates and binds the soul from the burdens of the negative consciousness of the ego. But you always have to stay on top of yourself, checking that 24/7, because the ego is like very crafty and intelligent, and it's always working on the behalf of your survival.
And on that note, we're going to call it the night there with Amanda DeMarco, as we had a great show with her. Coming up next, Steve Stockton to kick off hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Fun show. Thank you.
Was it fun?
Yeah.
I felt like I was scrambled eggs in the beginning because I was like, blah, 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 I was all over the place. And then
You
I
were great.
kind of got relaxed and I just started talking how I normally would. But
You are wonderful. I'll give you a few claps.
oh, thank you. Well, that was really
Absolutely.
fun. Yeah, it did flow easily.
Yes, I appreciate you.
How do
Thank
you
you
think,
very
how do
much.
you think topic-wise I did with like
You were
relatability to the
great.
viewers? Okay.
You were great. The only thing that I would kind of say is a lot of the terms that light workers use, break it down a little bit more to a lower common denominator so more people can understand.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're
I understand.
very passionate and people can pick up that passion, but they may not know that or fully understanding of the terminology. But
But that's
otherwise,
also my light language. That's also the light language.
true.
Yep.
All right, my friend, I will let you go. We'll talk soon.
Okay, thank you so much. It was real fun. Have a good night.
Take care.
Okay.
I love her. I love her. She was awesome. Good soul, that one. She's a good egg. I'll be right back, everybody. All right. I don't know if Robin is here tonight. I don't know. Usually she's in the room by now. All right. Thank you tonight to T-Bone with a hat trick of super chats, M, W. Decker, and Joe. Very much appreciate the love. Really appreciate the love. Feels great. Don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Here we go. Here we go at the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate earning your listening ears, wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America. We appreciate you tuning us on in. If you're wondering what our website is, well, let me tell you. It is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the Space Travelers Club. Let's get it for you. Buckminster Fullerene. Buckminster Fullerene is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as a clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. All right, let's get right to it. Steve Stockton is here with another creepy story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. A 23-year-old Illinois woman, Madeline Connolly, lost and wandered farther into the wilderness and away from her vehicle. Thinking if she just stayed on the trail she was on, she would eventually make it back to her car, she walked for hours and ended up at a lake. Knowing that she was far from where she should be, she stopped there for a while. Even though she had no shelter and was lightly dressed, Connolly had to seek shelter under the trees at night and share body heat with her dog. Not realizing the media attention the case was getting, the last day she thought she would make it back to her car, go for a Coke, and return to her uncle's house. In fact, several search and rescue teams had already begun looking for the woman. She was found safe on Mother's Day, a search and rescue team, 2-Bear Air Rescue, and was lifted to safety. Connolly was visiting family in Montana, on her way to a job at a bakery in Alaska. The dog, Mogi, was also found alive, and they were reunited the next day after Connolly was released from the hospital. Connolly claims that without the dog to keep her warm, she probably would have perished. Next, we have Lost in Canada, the story of Annette Poitras. 56-year-old British Columbian dog walker Annette Poitras went missing after falling on a hike and knocking herself unconscious. Poitras left her house with Bubba, Roxy, and Chloe for a little walk in the woods when she slipped and fell, hitting her head. In the fall, she also lost her phone and gloves. She doesn't remember how long she was out for, but when she came back around, she had to go find one of the 3 dogs that had wandered off while she was knocked out. After finding the dog, she tried following the BC Hydro power lines, but was too weak. By her second night being lost, over 100 search and rescue personnel were raised, and people were out looking for her and the dogs. Her third day in the elements was her last. Rescuers heard one of the dogs barking and was able to find Potress and her furry friends all alive and well. She spent a week in the hospital due to exposure from the elements, and in an interview she said she didn't think she would have survived one more night in the elements. Annette Potress was able to turn her ordeal into a novel. Author Anne Bruin spent an entire week with her family while writing the novel based on the recollection of Potress about the 3 days she spent missing in the BC wilderness. The name of the book is Three Dog Nights and covers both the missing woman's perspective as well as that of her family. I would have probably died without the dogs, Potress said. They kept me going and they kept me warm.
Thank you to Steve Stockton from Tales Untold for another cool story. If you want more just like that, head on over to his YouTube channel, Tales Untold, and hit subscribe and ring that bell. No Robin tonight. I think she's having some technical difficulties because usually she gets a hold of me to let me know that, hey, I'm not going to make it, or hey, I'm going to be there, but I haven't heard from her. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a little worried, but you know, we'll get through it. We will. I did something cool before the show tonight. Now, I don't know how many out there listen to Walter M. Sterling on the radio, real radio, not this online stuff. Well, for about the last year and a bit, I've been a guest on his show. Usually it was every Sunday night, but now he's on Sterling every night, even though he's not on the air on Saturdays. And I think he has a big bow tie collection too. Well, Walter took the night off tonight. He's got some things he needs to take care of. So his fill-in host, somebody you may know, somebody I have wanted to talk to for a long, long time. It's fill-in host for Coast to Coast AM, Connie Willis. She also has her own channel, Blue Rock Talk. And Connie and I have been Facebook friends for a long, long time. Never talked on the phone. I love her voice. Absolutely adore her. And so it was funny because Walter says, hey, I know you do the Coast to Coast thing. And I was, you're filling in for me. I got this guy out of Canada named Dave Scott. And she's like, oh, Dave Scott, I know him. And I'm like, and she's like, yeah, I want to bring Dave on the show. So usually I go on for about 7 to 9 minute segment. Ended up being like half an hour I was on the radio with her right across the United States. And it was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. And let me tell you, Connie is such a brilliant woman. Great broadcaster. I have so much respect for her as a broadcaster and as a journalist. And you look at her resume and where she worked in radio from working in sports to news and for race car circuits like Indy cars and everything around it. Just amazing broadcaster. So we talked a little bit about ghosts. We talked about Bigfoot. We talked about pretty much everything that we could fit into that shortened time. Got to arrange to get Connie on this show. We've been talking about it a long time, but it's something that both of us want to do. So we're gonna work on that. But as I was on the air with her, because she's really into Bigfoot and she's a paranormal experiencer as well. But the one thing that I liked about Connie is this. There are very few real journalists out there. And when I say real journalists, I mean people who actually spent time in real media, not just, hosting a podcast or writing a blog and all of a sudden self-titling themselves like certain people do on television shows, especially when it comes to UFOs. No, I really appreciate a journalist who can also admit that they are an experiencer of the unknown too. And that's what Connie Willis is. Even though her love and passion is for Bigfoot and cryptids, she still maintains that down the road, that down the middle of old school journalism should be. Not the journalism crap that you see today that you can't seem to trust the mainstream media. And hey, I was in the mainstream media. I know what it's like to be able to write a story down the middle. Talk show's a little bit different because we have to have an opinion. Maybe popular, maybe not popular, but we have to have an opinion. It's much different. And so there are very few real journalists covering our field who actually spent time in real journalism and can admit that they are an experiencer as well. I wish there were more. I think that would be a way that many of us could actually get on the bandwagon and cover these stories a lot better than what we do. I think the field needs it. And Rock and Rory heard us on WPHT with Connie. So thank you for listening, Rock and Rory. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And I love doing that kind of stuff. I love being able to talk about it. But, you know, it brought up the fact that, like in our fields, we need more integrity in journalism. We really do need more integrity. We need more accountability in these fields. Instead of, you have the majority of journalists out there who do not want to touch this story with a 10-foot pole, whether it's UFOs. And I'm going to get into a little bit of this in my rant coming up in the Dave 101 after the break at the bottom of the hour. But I really, really love to be able to tell stories. One of the things Connie and I talked about kind of gives me a new focus for what I want to do with Spaced Out Radio. And that is tell more stories. I like listening to people's encounters. I like being able to listen at late night radio. It doesn't matter whether I'm listening to one of our shows or somebody else's show, but I want to hear some true encounters, some true tales that people have. Isn't that why we tune into shows like this? Excuse me. I forgot to hit my cough button there. Isn't that why we tune into live radio? Is to in shows like this in order to be able to listen, maybe get a little bit scared, maybe get a little bit freaked out, and in wonderment of what would you do if this happened to you? We are so focused on the science part of everything and the governmental part of everything that we forgot about the encounters. It's like we really don't want to, admit that we had seen something. I mean, how many people out there, well, I don't really know what I saw, but I'm not about to call it a Bigfoot. I'm not about to call it a dog man. Not to call it aliens or a UFO. I just don't know what I saw. I just don't know what I saw. And I'm going to leave it at that. Why? Just admit what you saw. It's like my buddy Mark. And little Marky Spender, if you're listening. It took him about a year and a half to finally admit that he saw Sasquatch with me. The day we had that 10-footer in the forest staring at us at about 9:45 at night on a full moon night in October in the middle of the forest here, British Columbia, where no, there wasn't any traffic or other humans around. And we saw that. It took him a year and a half to finally admit he saw a Sasquatch. Why did it take a year and a half? Because he wants to be skeptical. He really doesn't want to believe, but eyewitness accounts and their stories and their encounters and how they reacted to it is why we do this. It's the passion of what we do. And Connie was direct about that. She was like, we need more stories. We need more people to be able to stand up. You don't need to write a book. You don't need to go on the internet or Facebook or build a website if people still actually do that, or go on your social media accounts or TikTok or whatever it may be and just start saying, this is what happened to me. What do you think? Give me a follow, give me a like, and hey, butter my buns so that way I can make some cash off of this. It's not what it's about. We need more people to share their encounters. Those creepy stories that when you remember those stories that you used to tell in front of a campfire? The campfire stories that, it always got to a ghost story or a weird story. Somebody always had one when you were sitting around the campfire. And maybe it's because we're too buried in our phones right now that we forget about telling those campfire stories. But I think we need to enjoy the experience a little bit more. I think we need to be able to enjoy the idea that we are lucky enough to have these encounters. We are blessed enough to be able to go into the unknown and question what it is. Like when it comes to UFOs, no offense to anybody, because I like a lot of people in this field, even people that many of you don't like. But when it comes to this field, I don't need Lou Elizondo or Chris Mellon or David Grush or Larry McGuire or anybody in this field to tell me what I've seen and experienced. I don't need it. I already know. Just like every other experiencer, knows what happened to them and what they've seen, how they felt, and what they did about it. Why didn't you have a camera? Why didn't you take a photo? Why didn't you pull out your phone and record it? Because you're so in shock and awe, you forget. Bad excuse? Sure. What about just enjoying the experience? I get a lot of people actually question me about that. Like when I'm out in the field, because I'm not a researcher. I'm an enthusiast. I'm somebody where I don't really care if what I experience gets on camera. Do I take some photos and every now and again? Sure I do. But I don't really care if it gets on camera. I just want to have the experience. I just want to be able to run through the motions and say, I saw that. Now, it's your choice whether or not you want to believe me. And if you don't believe me, frankly, I don't care. Because number one, you can't have a high quality talk show like we do. And yes, I will brag about that, without telling the truth to your listeners or on social media, our subscribers. You don't have to believe my truth. That's your opinion. But just know that I'm never going to BS you with any of the stories or experiences I've encountered. And I think the 99.9% of our listeners and guests that we have on this show act the same way. They don't want to fib their way through this. Look, there are some charlatans out there that do, and they've been caught. Eventually, they all get caught. But why can't we just enjoy the story? Enjoy the experience. If you saw a UFO over the sky, point it out. Be proud of the fact that you actually got to see something that the majority of people on this planet have not seen. And why have the majority not seen it? Because they haven't looked up. They're too busy being eyeball to their phone 18 hours a day, minus this average 7 for sleep, or 6 in this case, because that would make it 25 hours a day. Couldn't we use that extra hour? I know I could. And the thing is about this, I want you to be able to feel safe telling us that telling us that you are comfortable in sharing that story with us. I don't care how weird it is. I don't care how weird your experience was. Share it with me. Just tell me the truth. I want to know how it affected you. Sierra wants to know, Dave, what's the difference between interdimensional beings and ETs? I don't know. That's the best answer I have for that. I don't know. Why don't I know? Because I'm not educated on it. I've seen ETs. Where they come from, I have no idea. Could they be from Zeta Reticuli? Could they be from the Perseids? Could they be from the Anunnaki family in Orion's belt? I have no idea. But the big thing is, at least I'm not afraid to say, I don't know. What's wrong with that answer? I think we could use a little bit more I don't knows in this field. Major Lee over the UK says, Captain, I saw a cube UFO at 100 feet. I have disclosure. See, Lee has his own disclosure. Doesn't need a government suit telling him whether or not the phenomena exists. And that's the beauty of bringing more stories together, bringing more encounters together, more hauntings. Can you imagine living in a house that's haunted if you've never have and experiencing what some people have? Hell, my studio is haunted. Weird stuff happens in here sometimes. If you could see it on Radioland, I got a big light of a Bigfoot print. And guess what? Sometimes when I get into my studio and I've been out of here, so I usually leave my studio around 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. I turn everything off in here. And then when I come in, my light is on. Who did it? Can't turn on by itself. Nothing's missing on my desk. I know nobody comes in here. So why does it turn on its own? I have no idea. No idea why that happens. Trips me out, though. Totally trips me out. I want to know why. I totally want to know why. But those are the mysteries that we should enjoy having because they don't happen to everybody. They really don't. And if we can't enjoy what is around us with the phenomena, do we have any business listening to it? Do we have any business commenting on it? I'm still trying to figure that one out. So the Dave 101 coming up after the break is going to deal with something that is very personal to me because I've fallen out of love with ufology. It's not fun anymore. And I'm going to explain why. Next on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. Final half hour of the show coming up right around the corner. Stay tuned.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
I love that song. I do. Not gonna lie, I love that song. Guess Robin's not gonna make it. Her segment's over anyways. All right, what am I doing here? Okay, got that. Go here. You ever get that feeling that no matter how much you blow your nose always still feels plugged in that ticklish mode that you can't handle? So you blow your nose again and nothing happens. Yeah, that's where I am. I hate when that happens. I really do. Drives me nuts. I know the people in the recording are going to be like, what the hell is this guy talking about? His nose goblins. Hey, it's paranormal. Nose goblins are paranormal, people. All right. Finally, my screen clicked back. Hate when it does that. It drives me nuts. Plant watering citizen, good to see you. Oh, not everybody has to have the patience here. Some people do. Others do not. Tokeland, what's going on? I have not heard about the UFOs around Olympia, Washington last night. Fill me in. Good times, man. Good times happening here. We got about a minute to go here, people. Sometimes I never know what to say during the break, so I just sit here quietly and stare at you guys. Thank you, Oob to Joe's Main. You still got aliens. Yeah, you do. Joe's got them aliens. Thank you to Tim, T-Bone with a hat trick, Joe W. Decker, and M for the great super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support, everybody. Here we go. in like 7 seconds. Here we go with the third and final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to remind all of you, if you don't know already, that our archives are always free. Why do I keep them free? Because I remember being a poor college student going to broadcasting school and couldn't afford the archives for another famous show out there with our topics. It was like $10 a month Canadian. That was big money for us back then. Yeah. Couldn't afford it, so I didn't do it. Didn't even have a credit card in my name back then. But nonetheless, I keep the archives free because I remember that. I remember that there were people who missed my shows or missed a show and they wanted to rehear it, replay it. Now you can. We're on every major podcast network. We're on youtube.com/spaced out radio. The only thing I want in return, if you could give me anything, give me a little present for all this free content. Just hit subscribe or follow. That's all I ask. I think that's pretty fair. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It is that time of the night where I yell at everybody to get off my lawn because it's a Dave 101.
It's time for Dave 101.
Open up the door, it's Dave! Dave, D-A-V-E!
Sometimes they say good things need to come to an end. No, I'm not ending the whole idea of Spaced Out Radio. I would never do that. I love this show too much. Got my heart, my soul, and my chakras aligned with it. But I'm going to tell you something that's very personal to me. I've fallen out of love with ufology. No more Christmas cards, no more birthday cards, no more little I love you post-it notes on my computer screen to ufology. No, not anymore. The politics that have surrounded ufology have become so blasé to me that the topic is no longer fun. It's not fun anymore. When you have recent news of Stephen Greer claiming Betty and Barney Hill were faking their UFO alien abduction contact, when you have people on social media doxing people because they believe one thing in UFOs or they defiled your grandmaster with a question, a simple question like, do you know what you're talking about? Is this real? Did you really work there? You know it's over. Yes, we're still going to cover ufology on this show. Yes, the journalist in me will still want to cover the news because it's part of what we do. It's what we have to do. But I'm talking on a personal level here. On a personal level, I can't stand ufology anymore. I rarely go on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, or Elon Musk wants to call it these days. I rarely go on there to actually sit there and say, you know what? Let's get into the war. Let's get into the war of words. Let's start throwing the insults because I don't agree with somebody's comment about whether or not David Grush is a grifter or not. There's too many accusations like grifting, There's too many accusations like that are being misconstrued with doxing of people's personal information, people's wives getting involved, people's children being called out. Don't like that. It's turned ugly and useless to me. As I said in the last half hour, I want more stories. I want that old school radio feel where everything just feels right again. I don't want politics talking to me about transparency, like Tim Burchett saying, we got to be more transparent about this subject of UAPs. And I hate the term UAP. I really do. All right. But they talk about transparency. Transparency for who? Every year and every month we hear transparency. We need disclosure. We need to be transparent with what we know about these UAPs. You know what I want? I want that transparency for humanity. But these politicians only want transparency for themselves behind a closed door in what they call a skiff. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of all of these scientific groups putting down experiencers because there's no science to prove what happened. I'm tired of Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick saying there's no aliens. I'm tired of bad journalists who are, ripping into this field and making a mockery of people's lives because they were on the Dead Files television show. I'm tired of television shows abusing experiencers by having some unknown people claiming to be experts on UFOs, not UAP, but UFOs, and then claiming to be journalists when they've never been journalists. We've seen a number of those in this field. We've seen a number of people claim that they are experts in what a UFO is or not. And realistically, that half of this community has never heard of them or their research, or knows the truth that they couldn't tell a UFO from Santa Claus flying his reindeer with Rudolph in the lead and his bright red nose flying through the sky on Christmas Eve. But that's what we get. That's what we got, the UFO world. And the ironic part about it is when I started Spaced Out Radio in 2014, before the To the Stars Academy, before Tom DeLonge was calling everything demons, before he rejoined Blink 182, which, by the way, I'm not a Tom DeLonge fan in ufology, but hot damn does that guy rock. I like Blink 182. I will say that point blank. All right? I do appreciate that. But I'm tired of it. I'm tired of hearing just wait until this story comes out. Just wait. Or fighter pilots coming out saying the air is filled with UAPs and we got to protect the airspace because they're going to kill us one day. When? Why has nobody asked them when? That's the problem that we have. That's the problem that we want to take it. And I'm just tired of it all. I'm tired of the cover up. I'm tired of seeing experiencers pushed into a corner. All right. To me, it's about the stories. I want more stories from people. I want to be a little creeped out. I'm not a horror movie fan. I'm more of a suspense kind of guy. That's why I really enjoyed movies like The Conjuring and movies like Blair Witch Project. People always laugh at me when I say Blair Witch Project back in the day. But that movie scared the hell out of me. Jaws scared the hell out of me. That's why I still don't go in the ocean. Okay, all because my sisters pinned me down to watch Jaws on television back in the early 80s. Scared the daylights out of me. I don't even swim in a lake because I'm afraid that fin is going to come out. And then hear that dun 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 dun. Yeah, Dave doesn't need any of that. Doesn't need that at all. But ufology, getting back to focus here, to me has become obtuse in so many ways with the cast of characters, the people out there who are trying to take advantage of a community that was once good. And the community, though, did cause some of its own irony, because for years, like I said, when I started SOR, there was none of these people out there. There was no Soul Foundation. There was no Avi Loeb. There was none of this stuff going on that's political. I think ufology was better when it was swept under the rug. I really do. But it's become anticlimactic now, because the minute the politics got involved, it ruined the topic. And yet there are people still convinced out there that we are going to get disclosure from the United States government. I don't know what kind of wool they have over their eyes, but it sure blinded them. There are good people in this field. The majority of them, like at least 90% of them, are real high-quality people. Whether they believe or disbelieve in UFOs, or whatever their opinion is, they're from space or time travelers, or they're American-made with Budweiser in hand, the subject has just gone too far. The irony of it all is we asked for it. Everybody said, if we could just get that one person from in the government, just one, all we need is one, who worked in this program with the government, it's going to push this truth forward. We got Lou Elizondo, and what happened? Half of ufology crapped all over him. We got David Grush. What happened? Half of ufology crapped all over him. We got politicians talking about this subject, and what's happened? They're trying to push it back under the rug, under the name of transparency. And yet we crapped right all over them. Ufology doesn't want answers. I'm starting to believe this. We beg for them, the answers, that is. We hang out with them, the people who are pushing for this UAP crap. Okay, we see all of these groups popping up in disclosure for dollars, for science, for personal gain, for military gain, contracts, and all for what? You look at every group that's out there, one way or another, they are all spiderweb together through multiple people in multiple groups at multiple times. We're watching something unbelievable happen, and that is the destruction of ufology. Lou Elizondo a couple years ago wrote on a Medium article, I believe, where he said it's time to kill ufology. I think they're getting their way. Twitter is a cesspool for infighting within our subject, where it's getting personal and more personal each and every day. Everybody shoots down the stories because people are allegedly grifting off of it. Where do we go? You go back to the basics is what you do. And that is the people who've had these encounters. Look, I love researchers. I do. Doesn't matter whether it's Richard Dolan or Grant Cameron or Melinda Leslie or any of the newcomers who've come up since this topic went crazy. I think of Dan Warren from the Fifth Pillar of Emphasis. Great man. You look at legends like George Knapp, who just don't care anymore. They don't like ufology either. And maybe it is time to put to bed ufology, because it's getting ridiculous, even though this story will not go away. But if you are actually in belief that a television show or a podcast or a YouTube channel is going to make you millions of dollars talking about your one-sided approach to ufology, it ain't going to happen. The majority of UFO channels on YouTube have less than 1,000 subscribers. Hate to tell you that, but it's true. I just want to go back to the old school ways, man. You know, I never thought I would sound like my grandfather when I was a kid, where he would say, the old ways were better. It was much easier back then. And only 7 years ago, ufology was much easier back then. Now everybody rips the contact in the desert and the other conferences that are out there because you're not allowed to make money in this field off of people's interest. No, we're all supposed to sit at home and twiddle our thumbs, listening to podcasts, reading books. Can't get together with your own kin to have some fun. Ufology is a mess. I hate it. I don't like it. And I'm not going to participate in it. Yes, we'll still talk UFOs, but it's going to be around my focus and not ufologies. And that's your Dave 101.
What time is it?
It's time for Shirky Poo's news!
All right, let's have some fun here. You know that saying that's been going around the last couple of years, F around and find out? Well, apparently this group didn't understand the memo of don't mess with Gen X. Don't mess with Generation X. Here's what happened. 2 couples got into a road rage brawl, and one couple left with their tail between their legs. Video of the incident shows 4 people already out of their cars. The force of fighting spilled into the streets. The men can be seen shouting at one another while the older of the 2 brandished what appeared to be some kind of stick as he swung and waved the potential weapon in his opponent's direction. The woman, on the other hand, well, they got fully down and dirty, with an older blonde woman in a white dress dominating the younger brunette in a t-shirt and jeans. The woman in the white gets multiple punches and kicks in and yanks the other woman's hair to drag her down to the ground, and the beatdown continued. At one point, the older man looks on in concern before the younger man gets back to his attention, and the 2 continue to yell at one another. The older woman can be seen screaming at the other woman, whose jay's on the ground and kicks back helplessly. The dark-haired woman eventually picks herself up and gets into the car, while her male counterpart joins her. It's unknown how the brawl started or where it took place. The social media users cheered on the older couple. I am old, and it gives me hope, one person said. Another added, don't mess with Gen X. Yep. Why? We played outside until it got dark and drank from garden hoses. One remarked, think twice before getting out of your car. Rules to live by. Let's continue on. A priest has been arrested after allegedly biting a woman during Mass at a Florida church. You know, we have Florida man. Now apparently we have Florida priest. Father Fidel Rodriguez was handing out communion to parishioners at St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic Church in Florida when a woman went up to receive her Eucharist and the priest refused to give it to her. The unnamed woman was at Mass to participate in her niece's community, according to the police department, and Rodriguez claimed that she had not complied the necessary steps to get it. He wouldn't give me the cookie, the woman could be heard telling the cops in body cam footage. I don't know if it was the way I was dressed or if it is what I look like. One witness told police the woman was singled out because of her sexuality and attire. He tried to forcefully shove it into her mouth. She backed up, the witness alleged to the cops. Then what happened? Well, she said, no, don't do that. And she tried to get it. And that's when everything went cray-cray. Yeah, we've never used cray-cray on this show before. Gave me an opportunity to do so. Rodriguez, however, had a different version of the events and told officers the woman came to Mass but didn't seem to know the process of receiving communion, so he denied her the wafer. The priest said she returned to a later Mass and tried again. He refused again, and their scuffle happened because she tried to grab the host from his hand. He admitted to biting the woman, but told police he was protecting the wafer because it is considered the body of Christ. I am not judging you. I am asking you, did you confess after Mass? If you did not confess, I cannot give you communion, Rodriguez recounted. Well, the priest maintained self-defense since she pushed him and tried to grab the plate of wafers out of his hand. A battle over communion wafers. Imagine that. Here's another one for you. I don't know how I would feel about this. A man in Indonesia was left in shock. Why? Well, he found out the person he married was not a woman, but a man trying to pull off a scam. According to the South China Morning Post, the 26-year-old man using the alias AK also met Adinda Kanza, also 26, on social media last year. The pair hit it off online and decided to meet in person. When AK first saw Kanza, her face was covered in traditional Muslim attire after she claimed to be a devout follower. AK said Kanza continued to wear a niqab, which he felt showed her religious devotion. As they continued their relationship, they dated for about a year before getting married in April. A modest ceremony was held at AK's home after Kanza told him she was an orphan and had no family to attend the wedding. However, less than 2 weeks after getting hitched, AK became suspicious of Kanza as she continued to wear a niqab at home and didn't want to speak to his family. Kanza also avoided being intimate, complaining of feeling unwell and her menstrual cycle. Yeah, that's never good. Well, apparently he didn't like that. Told the cops that he wanted out. And now he's off for a divorce, and the other Kanza has been charged for impersonating a woman. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. Rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, say it with me, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Have a good one. I'm done. Jay Lehrman, welcome to SOR Chat. That light. Do you really want to hurt me? Good night, T-Bone. Any computer geeks in our chat room? And I mean that in a positive way, not a negative tone. Do you really want to make me cry? I hate that song. Now it's stuck in my head. Son of a gun. Any computer geeks? I need some help here. Trying to figure something out. Paramarv, where are you? Hi, Jimmy Gonzalez. How you doing? Okay, so during my show, I use two screens. I got this one that you're looking at, and then I have another one right here, this way. See if I can get the camera angle on that. Hold on. Camera one. Camera 2. It's coming on. Oh, hello. How are you? See, that's the other screen right there. I just got the camera sitting on top of it. All right. So every now and again, camera 1, every now and again, at least during my show, all of a sudden everything moves from this screen, it goes black, and moves over to the other screen. And then it sits there. But my main camera is here. And then it does this jumbling crap and goes back over to the main screen. I want to know how to stop that. I want to know how to stop that. Drives me nuts. Crazy. No, it has nothing to do with the camera. The camera's actually on top. I'm just saying it just changes screens. And I don't know how to talk computer lingo in order to make that happen. But during the news there, that's why you saw me looking here, then I'd look there, then look here, then look there, then look here, then look there. Hate it. Drives me nuts. Really does. Anybody else sick of ufology? I do have that as the primary paramarv. That part I do know. Moody Bongle, how you doing? Hi, Blue Cruz. How are you? Ange doesn't love ufology anymore. She's like, you go away, you boogers. You go away. See, now that I mess with my cameras, that one's going to flicker now. River Dog, how you doing, my man? Solar storm hitting us now? Cool. Means good northern lights coming. That's what it means. Yeah, I'm going to see about getting a new camera. I think I want a new camera. I'll be off this show in a little bit here. That's right, plant watering citizen. We need total disclosure. We're not going to get that, though. That's the bullshit problem. We're not going to get total disclosure. That's why I keep telling everybody, and people laugh at my face or don't believe me, that we are in a confirmation era. I'm not saying you, plant watering citizen. I'm just using that as an example. There's no way disclosure is going to happen. And if we have any type of disclosure from the government, it's not going to be what we really want. It's going to be what they allow us to have. That's the truth of it all. It's tiring. Okay, where does my music go? Is it here? Meditation play out in this. Why did that? Was there such a long break there? Oh, she paused. Let's see how long she paused for. I think that's where we caught her reading the chat room. Almost 3 seconds. That's a long 3 seconds. Seems so long. We'll leave it in there. All right, this camera thing's pissing me off now. Let's go here. Let's try this angle for a little bit. What the hell, right? I can even, let's see what mirror my camera. Oh, there it goes. Okay, that's what that button do. See what this one does. Touches up my appearance. Let's see what I look like. What happens here? Oh, it looks like I got makeup on. Makes my skin look smoother. Okay. I think that's what Sweet Robbie G looks, because he is like handsome on the air. He's got that handsome. Look at my skin. Oh my. Look how nice and crisp that is. Beautiful. Beautiful. I just look like a head. Like a statue of a head. Want to know a pet peeve of mine with podcasters? Want to know? Since I'm still kind of ranting here. It's when they like have their microphones and they're like way up here blocking their face in front of the camera, and all you see is like this part. Hi, I'm Dave Scott, and I'm hiding behind my microphone just so you can hear me. I'm Dave Scott. You're not. But look at my microphone. You ever see those people out there? Drives me nuts. Just take one broadcasting course, please. Just one broadcasting course. Mm-hmm. Then you get the people that try to shove their microphone up their nose. Look at me. I'm a journalist. I play one on YouTube. Look at me. Anyways, enough of making fun. Dave, what do you think when people hold the mic like the shot jock of old? Not a fan of it, to be honest. Walhurst. Professor Teapot. Is that true, Tim Mothman? Is that true? Luminara. Bite. Dave, do you love this UFO phenomenon? I do love it. I just hate the way it's going. Like, it hurts me to see how it's become. Okay. That's why I don't do X anymore, or you rarely see me on X or participating. Or if I am, it's usually something like I'm just retweeting, but I'm not really commenting there on anymore. It's because it's been ruined for me. It's become a cesspool. Right? Easy Rider, how you doing? What do I think needs to happen, Paramarv? I still like interviewing researchers. That will continue, but I want to somehow start focusing on more stories. And the problem is with people who come out, you have to book at least 1 to 2 guests a night. You have to. You don't have a choice. Because a lot of people are not comfortable in talking publicly. That's the danger of having guests who aren't on a media tour. Do yourself a favor. Hi, Paisley Parker. How are you? Do yourself a favor, okay? And I'm not saying I'm right, okay? This is just everything I've said tonight is my opinion, okay? It's how I'm feeling right now. You're allowed to have your own opinion. You're allowed to disagree with me, and I don't mind that. I really don't. Okay, but do yourself a favor. Collect information on all of these UFO groups and look how they're all tied together. Look how they're all tied together and through people. Look who's on Enigma Labs. Look who's on the SCU. Look who's got government contracts. Look for everything, and you will see that so many of these same people's names keep popping up. How is that good for us? I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. People are disclosure. Hey, by the way, all of you clap your hands for sweet Robbie G, who figured a new program that we started using yesterday in regards to shorts, getting our stuff out there. It's actually kind of cool. We just started it yesterday. I think we put out about 800 of the damn things. Hey, sweet Robbie G, I do need to talk to you about that because we got to add in. I know we're just in beta testing right now, but we got to get the logins for like TikTok and all that kind of stuff to make that stuff happen. Look at all the Dave shorts last night. We did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I think 16 out of a show is a little too much. I really do. And in the one pausing moment, I look really fat. That made me feel uncomfortable. I look fat, Rob. I look fat. But seriously, sweet Robbie G is a godsend to SOR. It really is. On that note, who's on tomorrow night? Oh, yes. Our Keith Andrews. Yes, our Keith Andrews tomorrow night. I'm excited for it. Hope you are too. Thank you to T-Bone with a hat trick, Tim W. Decker, M. Joe, We're T-Bone with 4. Holy cow. Joe, W. Decker, M, and Tim. Thank you for the super chats, everybody. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'm pretty tired, but I'm not wearing makeup. It's just touched up. Enjoy. Comment on the show afterwards. Let me know what you thought of the rant. Love you all. See you tomorrow night for our Keith Andrews.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.